Hi, I'm Shari. I'm a PhD candidate and a popular music scholar, and I don't really like country music. Or at least I didn't think I did. Let's talk about it. So, like you probably, I was a little confused when Beyoncé announced she was putting out a country album. Who's the audience for that? Well, Beyoncé announced this weekend that she's actually been developing this album for several years after the negative criticism she received for her performance at the 2016 CMAs with the Chicks. It was met with a lot of controversy from fans and critics that didn't think Beyoncé belonged on stage at the Country Music Awards. Interestingly enough, these same critics didn't have an issue with Justin Timberlake's performance the year before. I think we all know why that is. As sad and frustrating as that story is, it's not really a surprise to me. For at least as long as I've been alive, country music has had a lot more room for patriotism and whiteness than it has ever had for Black artists or fans. But that hasn't always been the case. Country used to be synonymous with themes of liberation and class conflict. Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 and Loretta Lynn's Coal Miner's Daughter quickly come to mind. In essence, Black people should be the perfect market for country music. But the history of country music is as segregated as the decades that brought it up. Did you know that Lionel Richie was a country artist? His 1983 single, Stuck on You, peaked at number 24 on the Billboard country charts. But Lionel Richie's career actually began in the 70s when he worked as a songwriter and backup vocals for big-time country artists like Kenny Rogers, Barry Kay, and the band The Commodores. But his own country writing often takes a backseat to the work he did for white artists. And this is pretty much the norm with country. Many artists, such as Elvis Presley, have forgotten Black songwriters behind their musical and commercial success. Not to mention, many artists like renowned harmonica player DeFord Bailey, who were chased out of a predominantly white industry and were only peripherally included in the annals of country musicians. Black banjo and fiddle players like Leonard Bowles and the Thomas Sampley Trio were never able to have their songs recorded despite their success amongst local audiences, because white listeners were quick to deride the music as too hillbilly. And there are those artists whose music was mischaracterized as R&B, like Chuck Berry and Vanessa Hill. This problem, which scholar Rebecca Hutton calls genre surveillance, is still happening. Most notably, the incident at the CMAs with Beyoncé and the Chicks that's brought us here today. Even Lil Nas X's song Old Town Road was removed from the Billboard country charts, even though it featured Billy Ray Cyrus. So, my title's a bit of a misnomer. The question really isn't, why don't Black people listen to country, but really, why does country exclude Black people? I think it's pretty obvious that for a lot of people, country music is synonymous with misogyny and white supremacy. Country music is often associated as well with American nationalism. Artists such as Merle Haggard and Toby Keith's songs are ripe with illustrations of American imperialism and militarism to capitalize on the pro-America sentiment that followed the Second World War. Post 9/11, country music saw a similar reticence for the themes of its youth, focusing instead on ideas of homeland and patriotism. In fact, it was this reservation to endorse a Bush presidency that had the Chicks ostracized from the genre. At the same time, country has become a haven for toxic masculinity and homophobia. Bro country espouses the kind of masculinity that ignores consent and decries affectionate male friendships. What's resulted is a genre that worships an idealized version of the United States, a white one. My perspective is twofold. The first, there is an obvious disconnect between the themes of class struggle and liberation and the kind of wealth an artist is able to amass in the country recording industry. When you're no longer in a place to talk about the struggle, you have to lean into other areas of identity, namely your whiteness. The second, the best way for the 1% to continue to hoard wealth is to create conflicts amongst the working class. It's not surprising to me that country music is the soundtrack for MAGA Republicans and radical conservatives. It's easier to hoard wealth if the people you're stealing from are fighting amongst themselves. Country music allows artists to idealize a fictional post-war America where everything was amazing but was ruined by the civil rights movement. But that doesn't have to be the future. The best way for consumers to fight back is by listening to those forgotten artists too. So here are 3 artists from early country and 4 artists that are making waves right now that you should start streaming as soon as possible. Per his own website, Charlie Pride turned a series of fortuitous encounters into one of the most lauded musical careers of the last century. He signed with RCA Records in 1966 and within a year recorded 2 singles which featured on the top 20 charts, and nominated Pride for his first Grammy. In the next decade, he sold millions of records, recorded 52 top 10 country hits, won 3 Grammys, and the Country Music Association's Entertainer of the Year and Top Male Vocalist. He was honored with the Academy of Country Music's Pioneer Award in 1994 and in 2000 was inducted in the Country Music Hall of Fame. Father of Soul Ray Charles is already well known by most popular music fans, but he cemented himself as a country artist with his rendition of America the Beautiful, about which he said, "I put a little country backbeat on it and turned it my way." Linda Martell was the first Black female solo artist to play at the Grand Ole Opry. She was born in South Carolina and signed with the Shelby Singleton's Plantation label. Unfortunately, we don't know a lot about Linda Martell, but a documentary is coming out in a few months and I'll link in the description so that you can check it out. And Black country has a promising future too. Multi-platinum Grammy Award-winning artist Darius Rucker writes about Black friendships in an industry where male-on-male intimacy is decidedly uncool. The War and Treaty are a husband and wife duo that write about the pressing needs of veterans and service people. My new favorite, Raina Roberts, debuted in 2020 with her single Stompin' Grounds. I heard her first on Instagram and I have been obsessed ever since. Her new album, Bad Girl Bible, is a mix between Carrie Underwood and Megan Thee Stallion, and I absolutely love it and have been jamming out to it for days. And finally, Grammy-nominated artist Reese Palmer writes about Black belonging in country and country music. And you should absolutely read her epilogue in Who's Country Music, which is one of the many books and articles I referenced for this video. My full source list is below, and I'd really recommend you take a closer look. This video is by no means comprehensive. There is so much more to be said about Black country and about Black country artists that I just don't have time to cover. So if there's anything I missed, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye. I forgot to say goodbye. Bye.